Hello and welcome back to another episode on Let's Talk Football Careers with myself, Barry, and today's guest, Bobby Russell. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing fine, Barry. Thanks for having me on your show.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I've got a career here to go over, Bobby, that's over 400 games in the league and over 500 competitive games in total. And you started playing professionally at age 20, is that right? It was with Shettleston, eh?
Well, no, I was younger than that. I went to
Mm-hmm.
Shettleston probably when I was 18, and I signed for Rangers when I was 19 and a half.
Right.
So, yeah, basically I was about 19 and a half, 20 when I played my first competitive game for Rangers. I was ready to say Celtic there, Rangers.
I know,
So,
definitely didn't do that.
no, I didn't do that, no.
But what were you doing prior to that? I mean, were you just playing football as a young lad and then you were doing this at a
No,
junior
early
level?
on, I got a 2-year contract, apprentice professional footballer down in Sunderland, just after Sunderland won the FA Cup when they
Right.
beat Leeds United in the final. I went down there and I was there for 2 years, but deemed not good enough.
All right.
So I came back up to Glasgow and I was kind of lost to the game. And I managed to find my way back and started playing amateur, then went with Shettleston Juniors, and then, of course, Rangers showed an interest in me.
And how did you first hear of that interest in with Rangers being interested in you then? And
It was just through the papers, playing away with Shettleston. At that time, I was playing alongside Joe Coyle, and Celtic were showing an interest in Joe, and Rangers were showing an interest in me. And then eventually, I was kind of approached by the chief scout, Laurie Cummins, after a game at, I think it was, I can't remember exactly where it was, but he approached me after the game and asked would I like a trial with Rangers, and I said of course I would, and that's how it started.
Yeah, Laurie was there a while, I think, because there was a few of my guests have mentioned his name. I think he helped with Billy Davies coming through as well. He played a part with Billy Davies and all that as well, eh? But can you recall what it was like first time you sort of sat down in front of Jock Wallace then? It was Jock Wallace at the time, eh?
Yeah, well, as I say, I went and got my trial, and it was up at Tannadice against Dundee United reserves. And after the game, both my father and myself were invited back in the morning to sign. And we went into the manager's office, of course, and Big Jock sat us down and said, right, we're going to sign you provisionally. We're going to allow you to keep playing for Shettleston until they get knocked out of the Scottish Cup. And basically we signed, and we were walking out the door, and he called us back and he said, look, you haven't even asked what you're getting. It was crazy. It was just, I think we were kind of just taken by the whole event. And but my dad was proud as punch.
I bet it was. Did your life change overnight as soon as after you joined Rangers? Did you feel that you were more recognised?
Not initially, because I was still playing for Shettleston. I still had a job, so it was still status quo. But it wasn't until I was called up the following season that's when my whole life changed. All of a sudden I'm in amongst players who I looked upon as my idols.
Aye, it's frightening. I mean, you joined at the same time as Davy Cooper and Gordon Smith, I believe, eh?
Well, Gordon came a wee bit later. He was 2 or 3 weeks later, but certainly David and myself both signed at the same time. And then Gordon came on board probably, as I say, about 2 or 3 weeks later.
What would the effect have been like the transfer window as it was now, eh?
No transfer window then.
No,
I believe that Rangers had been trying to get Gordon for a number of weeks or months. And Davy played against Rangers with Clydebank in the 3-game League Cup episode, and he showed what he could do there, and I think that kind of confirmed that Rangers wanted to sign him.
Yeah, and to think even just your name involved with David Cooper and Gordon Smith as well, the amount of games that he's played, you must have played over 1,000 games for Rangers between yourselves, eh?
Yeah. Well, at the time, David was, just making his way in the game. Gordon was the same. Gordon actually was part-time with Kilmarnock, and he's one of the, dare I say it, intelligent footballers, where he got degrees in certain things. And when he signed for Rangers,
he was working as an accountant or something like that.
He's a financial accountant. And of course, when he signed for Rangers, he said to Jock, can he continue doing that job? And of course, Big Jock said yes. So it's unusual for being a full-time professional to have another wee kind of side job.
But it was just different times, eh? I mean, you never had agents around you and teams around
Agents,
you. And
agents were just beginning to show their face. You know, Bill McMurdo, for example. But I never had an agent.
No,
I had a wife.
Aye, that was enough. That was enough to keep you in check. So, can we go to the first season? And you were saying you made your debut against Aberdeen. I mean, what was that like? Stepping out, making your debut. I mean, was your family there again?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they made their way up to Aberdeen, but it was a strange one because I think we were decimated with injuries. I think some of the key players were missing. So Billy Mackay got a chance, myself, and it was untried players. And we got into the game. I mean, I scored the equaliser, but Aberdeen were a good side, and they took full advantage of our lack of experienced players at the time playing in that game, and they were worthy winners 3-1. But you know, I enjoyed it. But you know, I do remember the game because I scored the goal, and I thought that was me. I'd arrived, and me, Alan McDonald, who was a great player, I loved playing beside him. He said, "Come on, keep your feet in the ground. You know, keep playing." So he gave me a stern warning that not to let my feet kind of go off the ground.
No, and again, that's where you got the guidance. You got the guidance through your teammates.
I was very, very lucky that I had all these experienced players, guys who had the biggest achievement ever achieved in the club's history. You know, there was about 8 or 9 of these players still playing for Rangers, and I was very fortunate to play alongside them.
Gordon was telling me in regards David Cooper as well. He was saying that he really had to put his arm around him. He says he was so shy. He says when they first joined Rangers, he says, and they had to really just calm him down a wee bit and say, look, give a wee bit step back. Yeah.
Anybody that's played the game will tell you that the dressing room can be quite a tough place. You've got to be thick-skinned. If you show any kind of weakness, players tend to have a go at you. And Coop and myself were kind of targets, if you want to say that. We are new boys in the block. But Coop, guided by Gordon, managed to get through it, and so did I.
He toughened you up, eh? I mean, your junior football helped away, but he toughened you up, eh? You had no choice. Get ready for it, really, eh?
Yeah, I've been asked many times, how could I go from Chelsea Junior straight into the Rangers team? And the simple answer is that I'm playing with, and no disrespect to the Chelsea boys, playing with better players, playing with international players. So you've either got to put your level of performance up as well, or you're not going to be in the first team.
Sort of sink or swim situation, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
But, I've got here your first season. Rangers won the domestic treble, and you played over 48 games that season, eh?
Yeah. Again, fortunate I didn't get any injuries, and I started off well. I scored a few goals. Didn't score a lot of goals, but I scored a few goals, and the help of Alec McDonald definitely got me through that period as well. And playing alongside Tommy McLean and Derek Johnston and John Gregg. I mean, John Gregg, very fortunate to have played with the best ever Rangers, voted the best ever Ranger. And I played with possibly the best gifted player in David Cooper. So.
And I mean, you had Peter McCoy, who you've left it there, and Sandy Jardine as well. I mean, even just rattling their names, you're in amongst Rangers royally, yeah.
And Sandy was a great influence and guided me along as well. And I missed the League Cup final against Celtic through illness. And after the game, I was happy for the boys. I was a bit disappointed I'd missed it. And Sandy Jardine came up to me and he gave me his medal, which was a great gesture.
And you still got that, yeah? Still got that medal to this day?
Still got it, yeah.
Brilliant. Do you display a lot of your medals or do you just, like the rest of them, just keep them in the
I don't know whether they're in a drawer somewhere.
Unbelievable. I'd have them all behind me and everything, man, honestly.
I know. I've got my
I think it's the memories,
I've got my Hall of Fame trophy kind of in a wee cabinet or in a shelf in the hall. So I'm quite
They all
proud
say
of that.
everybody that's experienced what you've experienced and to certain levels, they all say that. They say it's all about the memories. The medals are there to look at, it says, but the memories
Well,
are.
you can't take away your memories, then
Mm-hmm.
that's the bottom line. Great memories.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the next season, that was when John Greig took charge. Rangers finished second in the league. You won the Scottish Cup and the League Cup and the Glasgow Cup. So it was effectively a treble that year, but missed out in the league. It was a bad start to the season that season. I've got here 1-0 out of the first 6 league games. Can you recall that season? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, well, it's one of them where you won the treble. How can you surpass that? How? And probably we had a very good run in Europe that season.
Yeah. There was a certain game that was worth a mention that you'd be sick of talking about it because everybody talks to you about it. But the night in Eindhoven.
Yeah. Well, again, I scored the winning goal, but I didn't play that particularly well.
No.
I don't recall playing that well.
No.
Kenny Watson, who was playing that night, I thought he was probably our man of the match alongside Big Peter McCloy, who made some great saves.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and we were going through anyway in away goals, but the third goal just kind of killed it.
It was Tommy McLean that set you up. I've seen that. It was Tommy McLean that set you up for a goal.
Yeah, we talked. But Gordon Smith will tell you that he started the move. He played the cross-field pass. He played the cross-field pass to Tommy, and I think people say there's only seconds to go. Why did you make that run? Because John Greig must have been pulling his head out, because normally he'd be sitting back and consolidating the 2-2. But I think because it was Tommy McLean, I thought instinct took me there because I knew he could play the pass.
Aye, and I'll put the pass up on top of this video, but the pass is frightening and the finish as well. And that was the experience to experience that. I've seen the celebration and that, and it's all so different. But great memories. Great memories.
Well, again, the goalkeeper made my mind up. If he'd stayed on his line, I might have had to take another couple of touches, and then indecision comes into your head. But the fact that he's came out basically near the edge of his box, it gave me a big target to hit. So
tucked it away nice. So it was lovely. I've got here the following season, Bobby, 1979-80, finished 5th. I've wrote in here away form was poor. Maybe felt the team was coming at a bit of an end of the cycle, but you still managed over 30 league games yourself that season. You remember that season well?
Well, vaguely. I do remember that the more experienced players, the guys who were the Barca Bears and all that, they were beginning to come to the end of their careers at Rangers. Maybe a wee bit too quick in getting rid of some players. They could have been there to just give us their experience. I got a bad injury as well, which didn't help my cause. I tore my cruciate ligaments against Fortuna Dusseldorf in a European game. So that kind of set me back. Probably the reason I only played 30 odd games.
Because the rest of the season
they didn't really make a big issue of it, but it was a serious injury. It was a career-threatening injury.
Aye. I mean, you guys just played on with so many injuries, though. I mean, I feel like I'm doing name dropping here, right? But Dave Robertson was saying the same. He says you were scared to say that you were injured. He says because if you were injured, he says you were never available to be picked. He says, but if you just sort of played on, he says, and you just got on with it, you took injections and that.
Well, yeah, I know where he's coming from. I do remember. I'm trying to remember his name. Scott. I was going to say Scott Nisbet. It's no Scott Nisbet. He played big young lad, and he did say that he was frightened to not play and say he was injured because he thought he would never get back in. So yeah, that could be in your mindset, But in my case,
you couldn't have played.
Because in the days they couldn't do anything for the injury because they didn't have the surgery to rectify it. So basically, you either got on with it, you didn't. You just went through the pain barrier and worked a wee bit harder. But
And do you feel that now?
where David Robertson was coming from. There is a fear element there that you won't get back into the team.
And do you feel that on your body now after all the football you've played and all the injuries and different ways you've tried to recover from them? Do you feel that at the age you're at now, winter and that's?
Well, my knees, I'm very fortunate that I can still play golf. I can play a bit of tennis. I can't really play football anymore. I think I played last year and I thought then, no, I'm getting embarrassing. So, I'm able to, I can still walk. I don't really need, touch wood, I don't need a knee replacement. But, the older you get, you do feel the old. A lot of the players have had to go in and get hip replacements and things like that. I'm fortunate I've not had them like that.
That's good. I'll keep the golf going then.
Yeah, I love the golf. I love the golf.
Did you, the next season, if you mind, I'll just move on, 1980-81. That was the season we signed Jim Bett.
Yes.
In that season. How was Jim Bett as a player? I remember
Jimmy was a fabulous player. He was a fabulous player to play alongside. Very quiet. He was a quiet man. But, he had everything. He had pace, two-footed. He could head the ball. Greggy loved him. John Gregg loved him. And I can see why, because he was a superb player. And he, unfortunately, he only played 2 or 3 seasons at Rangers. I think his wife got homesick. I believe he said.
Was it Aberdeen he went back to? Was it Aberdeen he went to? Yeah? Was it Aberdeen?
No, he didn't go to Aberdeen. I think he went back to Iceland.
Right.
You would have to look up the records, but I'm sure he went back to Iceland because that's where his wife was from.
Right.
I think she put in the paper that she was asked about the cup final and all that we were playing in, and she said, instead of saying something about the cup final, she went, "I hate Glasgow. I miss my home." And I thought,
oh my God, it's just like.
But that's probably why he left.
Aye.
He was a great player, and Greggy loved him.
I remember. I mean, I'm looking back here. This was around about the year I was born, so I'm just picking wee bits out that I've got written down here. But in that season, the league was actually lost in about November, December time. Celtic went on to win the league. Rangers won the Scottish Cup, beat Dundee United 4-1 after the replay.
A replay, yeah.
That
was known as the Davy Cooper final. I mean, the first half in particular, Davy was unplayable. I mean, he scored 1 and he made 2, and he was brilliant that day.
Excellent memories. When you think back, I mean, that was 4-1. So, did you score in that game as well?
I did, yeah. David played a free kick over from the left. Big Derek went to head it and missed it, and I came in at the blind side at the back post and volleyed it in on the half volley. So,
and how does that feel? I mean, it must feel amazing.
That was great.
The crowd
I mean,
and all that.
Big, with massive crowd behind the goal because it was the Rangers end, and it was a great feeling. But,
I mean, you must be talking 80,000 upwards at that time, the crowd.
60,000 anyway, 65,000 at the game. So it was a great atmosphere. You need both sets of supporters there to make the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's brilliant. The following season, this was John Gregg's 4th season. It says, after discuss one League Cup beating Dundee United 2-1, goal from Cooper and Redford. Is that another final then? Yes, that was a League Cup final. What was the game significant with that game then?
Well, again, we Dundee United were a good side. They had some really good players, and they were a goal up. And then Paul Sturrock scored an absolute screamer, but John Holt had just strayed offside. He actually tried to get his head onto it, and the referee, of course, chucked it off. And we went down the park, and David Cooper scored with a free kick, great free kick, and then Ian Redford scored the winning goal. I still believe he meant it. But the significant thing for me was my boy was born 2 days prior to the cup final.
Amazing, That was the last game before you fully became a dad as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's right.
You played over 50 games that season though yourself. You'd obviously that was when you recovered from your injury and you were right back playing games again. Over 50 games that season.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't right, but I was able to play on, and it wasn't perfect. I was never 100%, but
I mean, you think nowadays you would never be allowed to play half the games that you played in, probably.
No. But Well, the problem there is, I don't disagree with the foreign players, because if they play in a game and they're not 100%, they can't turn around and say, well, I had a wee niggly injury or I had a bit of flu. That'll not wash with supporters. You either make a decision, you'll play, and if you don't play well, you just got to accept the flack for the supporters.
I think too, there's a lot of money in football, and there's no the same desire to play. If they're not playing, they're not playing. They're still getting the same wage as long as the team wins. And I mean, you guys have had like win bonuses that are actually significant to your wage structure and things, I'd imagine.
Well, you depended on bonuses without a doubt. If you didn't play, you only got basic wage. The wages were above the average wage, but they weren't the way they are now. I mean, if you spend 5 or 10 years at the top now, getting 12, 15 grand a week, I think you can survive on that.
You've done all right, It's mad, but
the game's changed a lot.
Big time. I mean, speaking to like generations of sort of your era players, and then the more sort of just retired players that I've been speaking to, and they've no idea how good they've got. Everyone's laid on for them when they finish. Everyone's laid on during their career and everything. It's mad.
Yeah, the game's definitely changed for the better. That's for sure.
Speaking of changes, what's your thoughts on VAR as a change?
I think I'm like everybody else. It's got its good points and it's got its bad points. And I mean, like last night, the decision where it was like, I think it was like a finger was offside. I mean, that shouldn't happen.
No.
But, the VAR is designed there for in the penalty box, and I think it's just. It's got to be amended. It's got to be something's got to change in it, and I don't know if they're going to do that.
No, it's all money again, but I mean, it's just like you say, technology is there. It's just we need to learn to use it right, and it's like it's mad. Some of the decisions you see and all that.
There's a lot of things in the game that I disagree with now, but that's just the way it is. I don't play now, so it shouldn't bother me.
No, it doesn't. But it's when you see it and you look at it, like, I mean, see when you watch football as well. I was thinking this last night because I know you were watching the football last night. See when you're watching football as somebody who's played at this level, do you enjoy the games or do you just find yourself shouting at the telly all the time?
Well, I think my wife would answer that one. Last night was a good game. It was enjoyable to watch. It was exciting. A lot of the games where it's getting passed back to the goalkeeper. In fact, the goalkeeper's probably going to have more touches than the outfield players sometimes. And I don't enjoy it. I do kind of sit and shout at the television, and sometimes I turn it off because I just can't watch it. It's not a spectacle. It's not an entertainment in my eyes. But that's the way the game's gone. And
that's it. And you can see all the leagues catching up, right? I watch the Championship. I watch a lot of the Scottish Championship, and it's still got that rawness. All the teams are thereabouts got the same budget, and they've not got VAR involved. And it's so good to watch, just to watch a proper game of football.
What gets bums off seats is goal mouth instance and goals. That's what the game was all designed for. It's supposed to be an entertainment. And when you look at it and you say, well, the midfield player had 98% passes, correct, and you're like that. But 70% of them were sideways or backwards. Success rate, it's kind of false. But I was the type that tried to do something positive. When I did the coaching, I always coached the kids to look forward first. Can you play a forward pass first? But a lot of the players now get the ball, and the first thing they do is they look to play it back the way.
It's like they're scared. They're scared. As soon as they get on the ball, take the easy option.
Yeah, that's right. And the Barcelona, the wee boy that was playing the wide right, he was just a joy to watch.
Yeah, brilliant. And he was like what you were talking about. As soon as he got the ball, even when he had his back to go, before he scored that goal, his first thought was turn, take on them, and that's what created that goal. I think
that gets people excited, and I don't think we've got a lot of that now.
No. So just moving on to the following season, that was when the 1982-83 season, and we signed Dave McKinnon, Craig Patterson, one of the first foreigners you probably played with at Rangers was Robert Pritz, and we also
Yes.
signed Sandy Clark. What was Pritz like though?
Robert was a good player. I mean, he got 60 caps for Sweden. You're not a bad player if you get 60 caps. Plus, he played in the year that we got knocked out with Cologne in the European Cup. He played for Malmo against Nottingham Forest in the final. I think he was 16 or 17. Robert was a good, very, very technical player. Small in size, but a worker. But very, very gifted with the ball at his feet. Great passing.
Again, it's another one that I can remember. This is all going to benefit my dad, Brian. He's been telling me all about your career and different players and that. And he always went on about Robert Pritz. I think it was just the whole foreign aspect and somebody coming in a bit modern and that with their thoughts.
Yeah, that's right. He spoke very good English as well, so he didn't have that barrier where he couldn't understand what we were saying. I think at the time Ali Dawson was given the job of looking after him outside the training and football, so they became good friends.
It's funny how it all comes round. The season after that was when John Grigg left, Tommy McLean took temporary charge, and then Jock Wallace came back, I believe. That was that season. Can I just put a couple of bullet points for that season? It was Alec McCoist's hat-trick of Glasgow Cup.
That was in the League Cup final against Celtic,
And what was McCoist like? I mean, at that time, that was him coming through. He was banging in 30-odd goals a season,
Well, he did that, I think it was more under Walter Smith and playing alongside Mark Hateley. I think Mark Hateley kind of helped him along the way and made him a 30-goal a season man. He found it tough at the start. Okay, the hat-trick certainly helped him against Celtic. If you score a hat-trick against Celtic, you're a hero in every Rangers supporter's eyes. But he went through a wee phase where, if I remember rightly, it was against Dundee at Ibrox, where he kept missing chances, and they actually started singing "Ali, Ali, where to go." And and the character of the man, it was easy for somebody just to go into the manager's office and say, "Look, I think it's time for me to go. It's not working out." But he stood his ground and he turned the corner.
I recall a chat going back years, and he said that he did get offered the chance to go, and they said, we'll put you on the transfer list if you're happy with that. And he said that at the time. He says, "Nah," he says, "if it's okay, I'll stay and fight for my place."
You had Mo Johnston being signed, and he made a partnership with Mark Hateley, and Ali was kind of put on the bench. So it would have been easy for him to say, "Look, nah, time to go." But that's a character in the man. He knew that he could fight and get his place back.
His commentary is brilliant. I mean, you listen to it when he's on the last night and the night before. His commentary is top level.
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons I was asking how frustrated you get watching it, because you sometimes hear that coming across with Ali. You'll say, "I should have done this and they should have done that," and you can it's passionate. It's proper.
He's looking at it from a footballer's point of view, and he can understand the game, and that helps.
It comes across great. Now you were talking about being injured here. The following season, 84-85, you played 25 matches. Was this injured, or was there selection issues?
Yeah, probably. Well, I had 5 operations on my knee. No 5 operations while I was playing for Rangers, but I think I got three operations while I was playing for Rangers. So that basically my knee wasn't sound. It wasn't. I'm trying to think of the word. Your cruciates keep your knee steady. My knee was moving all the time, so your cushions were getting kind of thing with the way, rotting away. So I ended up having to go in and get cartilage taken away. They're your buffers in your knee. So basically, my knee, it's bone against bone. So a lot of time. It wasn't always that. It wasn't always my knee. I had other injuries, hamstrings and things like that, but predominantly it was always knee trouble.
And do you think a lot of that was to do with maybe the pitches you were playing on as well, and the boots were one of the greatest boots that you were wearing.
I don't think it would have mattered, Barry. You can take, I've had the choice of getting a broken leg or getting cruciate damage. I think I would take a broken leg. because as soon as you start messing about with the joints are never the same. At least
a
they're broken
bone
down, you come back stronger. It's by the by, as you say, I played over 500 games, so it never prevented me from making a good career out of it.
No, I mean, you're saying that, right? I mentioned it at the start, and I was going to come on to it a wee bit later, but you never had a single Scotland cap, did you?
No, again,
Mad.
well, I was talking to somebody the other day about Maradona Cup when he came to Hampden to play against Scotland when he was 17. I was actually, my name was in the squad. I was to play, or I was involved in the squad against Argentina. But because Rangers
Ian Munro marked him that game. I was speaking to Ian Munro, and he said they marked him that game.
Brilliant! What a great memory he's got then for that. But Rangers went to 3 games against Hibs in the Scottish Cup, so I had to withdraw from that particular game. So I could have been playing against Maradona.
And then you were never selected after that. You were never.
No, again, my theory in that is, I could play club football, but playing international football, you've got to go up another level, and I don't think my knee would have taken all that. I played under 21s, but I think my second under 21 game, my knee went. So
that's mad. This wasn't meant to be.
I put it down to my injuries, my knee injury that probably stopped me from playing any kind of international games.
Did you get offered the call up any other times, or was that it after that then? Or?
Well, I was the World Cup, 2 World Cups. I was in the 44, but when they whittle it down to 22, I didn't make the 22. So it's something that it doesn't bother me.
No, it would be nice.
If it was going to happen, it would have happened, but it didn't happen. So you just go on.
I mean, all the experiences you've got here. I mean, the last season that you were at Rangers, the last season, then you played 1 game in the following season, but that was Jock Wallace. He lasted till April, and then as soon as it came in, after that was all the big revolution after that. But like you said, you made it into the Hall of Fame, and I mean, you must be so proud of that. Can you get back to Ibrox much?
Pardon?
Do you get back to Ibrox much? Do you go back?
Well, I used to, but I don't go back as much now. But I used to be involved. Well, when I stopped playing, I was doing youth development on a part-time basis, and I was doing community football as well full time. So I was at Ibrox for a lot of time. For about 12 years. When I stopped doing all that, I tended. It's not that I don't like watching the football as such, and I'm. I just don't go to the games now.
It's consumed a lot of your life, Bobby, and I think that's what it is. You need to find when you get to a certain age, you're going to focus your attentions elsewhere a wee bit, and I think that's what it is. You can watch it leisurely.
Yeah, I've got grandkids. I like my golf. I like my tennis. There's certain games I like to watch. I watch Rangers. I used to do the co-commentating as well until my hearing's no great. My eyesight's not too clever either, so it doesn't make for a good co-commentator.
No, it's not the ideal.
No, it's
you left Rangers and you joined Motherwell, and it was Tommy McLean, who we've mentioned a couple of times. Tommy McLean was in charge when you joined Motherwell. How was that?
That was one of the reasons I went there. It's because wee Tom was there, and Tom Forsyth. I had the chance to go to Hearts. At the same time when I was released by Rangers, but in the 11th hour, they kind of backtracked on what my wage and what my sign-on fee would have been, simply because they'd taken on board Dave McPherson from Rangers and Shuggy Burns. So they said.
Was Alec McDonald not involved at Hearts at the time?
Alec McDonald and Sandy Jardine. So you had they two at Hearts and Tom Forsyth and Tommy McLean at Motherwell. So I'd spoke to Tommy. And Big Tam and then to be fair, I thought Hearts were the bigger side, probably the better club to go to. But I ended up I went to Motherwell, and I never regretted it because Big Tam was great for me.
Aye, and again, David Cooper was there at the same time as well. David Cooper then went to Motherwell, I believe, at the same time.
He played a couple of seasons after I left Rangers.
You've got Tom Boyd as well. Tom Boyd was there as well.
Tommy Boyd was there. Yep, Tommy went on to great. He actually came on leaps and bounds when Davy signed for Motherwell. All of a sudden, he got a yard for somewhere, and he became a much better player playing behind Davy Cooper, which a lot of players did.
And I think that's what benefited David Robertson. He was saying the same when he played behind Laudrup, and he worked out how Laudrup played. He says that brought his game on so many different levels.
Yeah, I can understand that. You know, he was a class player, and great bringing 2 or 3 players towards him and then releasing players who could do that. And Robertson had great pace. It's got to be said. Same as Tommy Boyd. Tommy Boyd was a flying machine.
Aye. And they two ended up competing for a left back slot in Scotland team as well, I believe. And I think that's what actually cost both of them more caps than what they probably would have got if they were standalone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can I make a wee nod to a local? I don't know from my side, Stevie Kirk. He played alongside him. Great
I played with Stevie. Yeah, Stevie was a hell of a finisher. I mean, I think he ended up top goal scorer for the 5 seasons I was there. He must have been top goal scorer 3 or 4 of the seasons from a midfield position, which is incredible. I mean, I do remember him scoring 4 goals. We beat St Mirren 4-0, and he scored the 4 goals. He was prolific. He had the Midas touch, and he scored the winning goal.
He went under the radar. He always went under the radar, Stevie, a wee bit. You know, within Scottish football, and he took him.
I think no disrespect to Motherwell, but I think he could have went to a bigger club, maybe even down to England. But he was a good lad. He was good for the dressing room as well. He was funny, and he was a likable guy as well.
Do you keep in touch with a lot of the players that you've played through your career with?
Yeah, I do. You know, I'm still very friendly with John McDonald, and with the wives, myself. We go on holiday quite a lot. Dougie Bell, Shuggy Burns, people like that. Yeah, we keep in touch.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to hear. So from there, I mean, I've got to mention as well. You're part of the winning Scottish Cup squad, but you got injured again, and you missed out on that final.
What, the Motherwell game? Motherwell Cup final. Yeah. That was a sore one because what happened was we played Celtic in the first game, semi-final, and Tommy McLean's asked, I was struggling with my knee, and he said, would you take a cortisone injection? And I says, yeah. So I went on the bench, and I'd taken this cortisone injection. And of course, the game finished nothing each, and they never put me on. And when we went to training, my knee collapsed. So I had to go in for an operation. And I was never going to be fit for the final. So that's why I missed the final.
And again, that's where a lack of sports science and all that comes into it. That would never have happened, but he's made the decision, and he's obviously changed his mind with what he was going to do. And look at
again, I can understand. You know, if there's 10 minutes to go, you know, you're looking to take it to a replay, and you don't want to really, you don't want to take that chance. But you know, why do I take a cortisone injection and I don't get put on? That kind of upset me a wee bit, but hey, managers are going to make decisions that either you like or you don't like, and the bottom line is we won it, we won the cup. So,
and were you on the open top bus parade then? Because that would have been the first trophy you won. That there was a bus parade and everything.
Yes.
Well, that must have been a good experience.
A good lady kind of seen that I was very, very disappointed. So what she done, she organised a wee holiday away for a week during all the celebrations. So I wasn't involved in any celebrations because if you don't play in it, Barry, you don't feel like it. It's not the same. You know, if you play or you're on the bench or whatever, then you feel as if you're taking some part. But if you're sitting up in the stand watching, you're glad for the players, you're glad for the manager. You don't feel part of it. So life did well to take me away.
So it just shows the way. I mean, Kim, you didn't look at this. Is what I'm trying to capture is like looking at it from a fan's point of view. you didn't actually see the mental aspect of what the players go through all the time, and that's something that even now you look back and you think, there's no counselling for it, you just deal with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about, if you do play in a game and you're not 100% and you try and make excuses for a bad performance, supporters are not going to listen to that. If you deem yourself fit to play, then no complaints. You can't make excuses.
No, that's it. Just before you hung your boots up after your time at Motherwell, I've got Ayr United, Arbroath, Cowdenbeath, Cumbernauld United, and Albion Rovers. Was this you just trying to keep playing? You were just trying to keep playing.
Arbroath, I don't know why it's on Wikipedia, but I've never played for Arbroath, so
never been Arbroath. It's got one game. It's got one game.
No, never played for Arbroath.
No, must have been another Bobby Russell that played up there.
Yeah, the Albion Rovers thing. Well, Cumbernauld kind of transpired because the boy who was the manager there, his name was Dennis Newell, and Dennis actually got me a job outside football in sales, and I had said to him, "Look, you scratch my back, can I do anything for you?" And he says, "Why don't you come to Cumbernauld and do a bit of coaching?" So I went along and I ended up getting my fitness level up when I started playing. And actually, I was top goal scorer and we won the league. So, but my signing on wasn't money or anything like that. It was a set of PT Mizuno golf clubs.
Just like that, there you go. That will keep them sweet.
I was playing just for the fun of it, to be honest.
Because you would have been 38, 39 then,
Yeah, I was getting on. My knee was still gave me a bit, but I was able to get through it, and I enjoyed it because my boy went to the game. He was only young and he loved it as well. He seen me playing and
he was able to watch you.
Yeah,
brilliant. I mean, how do you look back on your playing career after all that? I mean, how do you look back on it? You must be proud of it, obviously, but there's certain parts that will seem like a lifetime ago, and then other parts you can just go right back to it.
Yeah, I mean, I deem it as being a success. That I've won a few cups and medals and things like that. I got into the Hall of Fame, which I'm very proud of. And there's always things that you wish you could go back and change, but you can't do that. You've got to take the highs with the lows, or the lows with the highs, or whatever. The good points, the bad points. Football's like that. You could be going really well, then all of a sudden you get an injury or you get a bad result. The team starts losing form. So the highs and lows of football, that's what makes football great.
Loved it. I loved it. So I believe you've got a book coming out, or came out, last year. But
it came out last April. The title of the book is From Easterhouse to Eindhoven, simply because of a reference to the Eindhoven goal and the fact that I came from Easterhouse. I was out with a couple of my mates, and I'd said to them, I'm thinking about writing a book, and they said, jokingly said, "What's the title going to be?" And one of them said, "What about Easterhouse to Eindhoven?" I thought, well, that'll do. It's something that I wasn't going to do, but the boy Ross Wilson, who co-wrote it with me, convinced me that it was worthwhile doing. And I'm quite happy I've done it now.
It's good. It's a good thing, for the fans to buy and get a wee bit of a longer perspective into your career than the 45 minutes we've done here. We're very fortunate to be able to sit in this day and age and document your career down and go through it on that. It's amazing,
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about 11 years, at Rangers, and 5 years at Motherwell, and then the bits and bobs that you said there. The Cumbernauld, the Albion Rovers, the Ayr United. It's been a journey which I've thoroughly enjoyed.
I hope you've enjoyed going back through it as much as I've recorded it. I mean,
yeah, definitely, Barry. I appreciate you even having me on. It's been a delight. I hope people have enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, what I'll do is I'll thank you for coming on. Right, I'll get the video all edited, send you a wee copy over, and then I'll get the video uploaded, and we'll call it for there. That's been brilliant, Bobby. Thanks very much. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Barry. I'm glad it's went well.